Hey Crusaders, Daryl here. We are about to embark on another adventure. We are headed to Forsythe tonight and then Brevard, North Carolina tomorrow, and where we meet up with the rest of the guys, and then we're going to start our North Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama trip. All right, so here we go. I got Doc Martin in front of me. All right, Crusaders, so if you notice, I got my trusty little co-pilot. I got baby Sasquatch with me running co-pilot, and in front of me is Doc Martin. So off we go. Come along for the ride. Like, subscribe, and share. Crusaders, it looks like the trip is over for me. My rear hub exploded. Yeah, there's a bearing. There's bearings, all kinds of crap in there. So we're waiting on a tow truck. Doc Martin and I, and his son, my nephew, is gonna come with a truck and trailer and rescue me. So it sucks, but we're safe. This is not how you want to start your trip, but it sure is a quick way to finish it. All right, so just made it back to Ocala. Just finished disconnecting all the straps to the truck. Now I gotta get it off the trailer, parked in the spot, get it lifted up in the back, start tearing it down, see if I can get back up to North Carolina. All right, Crusaders, so basically what happened was Doc Martin and I were headed to Forsythe, Georgia. The day before, we were supposed to meet everyone in Brevard, North Carolina. And after work, we left to go to Forsythe to stay at the hotel. And just as, I should say, once we got on the bypass, Macon bypass, I think it's 275, I started feeling or hearing a clunking noise. So we stopped. We thought it was the brakes, maybe the brake caliper was seizing up. Tried to get that fixed, went up the road a little bit, heard the noise again, pulled the tire off again, got it back on. This time I believe what we did was we clamped the brake caliper to the trailing arm just to keep it out of the way. Got up the road a little bit more, stopped again, checked everything again on the side of the highway, pulled the tire off. Couldn't really find anything going on. And then what we did was got back on the bypass, and as we're hitting the confluence between, or I should say the interchange between 275 and 75, the rear end was really swaying back and forth. And Doc Martin got on the radio because he was behind me at this time. He's like, hey, you're throwing sparks and it's starting to smoke. And as I'm coming off the sharp curve onto 75, I told him I was shooting straight over to the shoulder, which I did. And by this time the smoke was coming out. And once we got safely on the side of the road, I pulled the wheel off again, and this time I found metal pieces coming in. So basically what had happened was, all right, y'all, so got it checked up, got the rotor off, and apparently I'm still finding more bearings coming out. So it's going to be interesting to see what I can find in here. So that's where we're at. I'm hoping to meet up with the guys in North Carolina tomorrow. Made it back to Ocala safe and sound. All right, here's an update. Something's missing here. It's right here. Let me just show you. This is where the emergency brake is. The springs. Look at it, chewed into the peg where the emergency brake springs are. I can't even get this spring off. It's so chewed in. This is where the emergency brake comes through. Here is the inside. Look at this. Apparently there was bearings or bearing housing somewhere in there at one point. So, the back side of it. Here is what's left of the hub. Here's bearings and other crap. There's what's left of my emergency brake stuff. So, next part is, oh yeah, there's the axle, and here's the speed sensor part of it. And on top of that, you find my speed sensor that I tucked away up here. Look at that. Look how chewed up that is. So I gotta get a speed sensor, get new axle, get all the new spindle area. Over there is the new bearings for the rear. So steadily plug it along. All right, so luckily I have a parts truck in the backyard, and the spindle with the rotor, that rotor and hub is all supposed to be positioned here. All right, so you see the rear perch here for the shock and the springs. You got trailing arms, upper A arms. There's the caliper, whatnot. Okay, it's all sort of jacked up together. All right, so all of this was removed so I could use it on the other truck. So that's how I was able to do that, which was not fun because of course you're in the backyard. Thankfully I had some plywood and other wood to jack up the truck, so on and so forth. I also pulled the... All right, Crusaders, so here is the old wheel bearing, and as you can tell, here is the different parts of the wheel bearing where the bearings are supposed to be, and the housings that go around the wheel bearing. So this has been weathered for a couple days, so that's why you see rust on it. And also, here's the whole spindle assembly, and you can notice that it's been, lack of better terms, wallered out. And that also, and you can see in there, it's just sheer destruction. So you can see the bearing assembly right there. I may try and get that out, but I don't know. It just seemed like there was so much damage I didn't even bother trying. But that was that. So on top of that, back here you have the bracket for the wheel speed sensor, and this is the wheel speed sensor. Now this wheel speed sensor is not supposed to look like this. It's not supposed to be all chewed up. Notice how it's uneven. It's not flat. It was just absolutely destroyed by the axle. So here is the axle, which really sucks because it's still a good axle. But if you noticed right here where the teeth are, these teeth are supposed to be sharp. Look how flattened out and rounded those are. Basically what happened was the wheel speed was hitting these teeth and flattening out the teeth. So I had to pull an axle, and I also had to replace the wheel speed sensor. And let me show you how I did that. All right, Crusaders, so basically I'm going to show you what I did to get when I replaced the spindle. So this was the one that came off my truck, and I put the other one from the other truck on it. But this is what I'm going to show you what I did. So let's just imagine that this whole hub assembly was still sitting in here, okay, in here. So basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to, if you notice, I've hit it with the air chisel here, and I actually got it up off. There is a little gap around here. So what I'm doing is I'm hitting this rim with the air chisel. So it's basically like that, okay? And I'm working my way all the way around it. And what I did with the other one, it didn't take me but a few minutes to do it, but this one, I think probably because it's been really heated and wallered, it's a little more difficult. So that's what I'm doing. So just give you a heads up. All right, so that gives you an idea. So you notice, see how it's starting to separate there? All right, and that's about halfway out. There's not a whole lot of that bearing sitting into the spindle, but I'm not going to be reusing this spindle whatsoever. If you notice, there is damage here, but the most significant damage is right here, this pin where the emergency brake springs connect to. There's two springs that connect to this. That is not supposed to look like that. I can't even get this spring out. Look at that. It's so wedged in there. I can't even get it out. So I will not be using a spindle. I just wanted to show you guys a way to get this rear hub out of the rear spindle. So I'm not going to do any more because that's just... After getting the rear hub bearing repaired and the rear spindle replaced, I tried to get the toe link back onto the spindle and ended up stripping the bolt for the ball joint. So I had to put the truck back on the trailer, and my nephew delivered it to Shop 21 here in town. Hey Crusaders, Daryl here. So as you could tell, I never made it to the mountains, but thankfully for this little parts truck back here, I was able to source some parts from it. Now, what I didn't tell you or show you was, in my haste to try and get the truck back together, I was going to change the driver's side wheel bearing also. I took the brake caliper off the rotor, and when I put everything back together on the passenger side, I pressurized the brakes and I blew out the caliper on the driver's side. So thankfully for the little red behind me, I did pull a brake caliper off that and get my truck up and running, but it still needed to get to the shop, and never made it to the mountains. So Crusaders, I hope you enjoyed this video on the trip that wasn't meant to be, and I'm hoping to have a sit down with Doc Martin and go over some of the other joys and sorrows of the trip, and that's going to be coming in the near future. So Crusaders, make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and God bless, and I hope to see you on your road adventure.